Hi, it's Grandma Ray. I love children, I love books, and I especially love reading books to children. In this video, I am recommending and reading Fancy Nancy. Fancy Nancy is written by Jane O'Connor, and the pictures are drawn by Robin Preiss Glasser. Maybe Price. It's hard for me to tell. Names are tough sometimes. Here we go. I love being fancy. Looky there. She has a very fancy room. My favorite color is fuchsia. That's a fancy way of saying purple. I like to write my name with a pen that has a plume. That's a fancy way of saying feather. And I can't wait to learn French because everything in French sounds fancy. Nobody in my family is fancy at all. They never even ask for sprinkles. Wow. Do you like being fancy? I kind of like being fancy. There are a lot of people who think I'm a little too fancy, but that's okay. There's a lot they don't understand. Lace trim socks do help me play soccer better. Sandwiches definitely taste better when you stick in frilly toothpicks. A princess is supposed to keep her tiara on. What's a fancy girl to do? I ask my doll, Maribel. Her full name is Maribel Lavinia Chandelier. Oh, look at that. She's got a very fancy doll, doesn't she? She is very, very fancy. Then I get an idea that is stupendous. That's a fancy word for great. Maybe I can teach my family how to be fancy. I make an ad and stick it on the fridge. The ad says, "Learn to be fancy with lessons from Nancy. Start today. Easy, fun, free." All right, so see, there she sees some ads at the store, and that gives her the idea to do the ad on her refrigerator. And in addition to being fancy, she's pretty smart. Soon there is a knock on my door. My family saw the ad. They want to get started right away. So she's got a board, and it says yellow. The plain word is yellow. The fancy word is gold. The plain word is leather. The fancy way to say that is patent leather. And the plain word is glasses. The fancy thing is sunglasses. So there she is. She's teaching her family how to be fancy. The trouble is, my family doesn't own any fancy clothes. That's okay. I go find, what is that fancy word? Oh yes, some accessories. So here she comes with the accessories for her family to help them be fancy. Ooh la la, my family is posh. That's a fancy word for fancy. My mom twirls in front of the mirror. Why don't we go somewhere fancy tonight? How about dinner at the King's Crown? Dad suggests. Wow, my parents are acting fancier already. Looky there. Don't they look fancy? May I escort you lovely ladies outside? The limousine is waiting. My dad is our chauffeur. That's a fancy word for driver. Oh, look at how fancy they look. When we arrive at the King's Crown, everyone looks up. They probably think we're movie stars. What do you think the other people are thinking? I think they're thinking that it looks like a fun family. I am so proud of my whole family. They eat with their pinkies up and call each other darling. That is very fancy. For dessert, let's have parfaits, my mom says. That's French for ice cream sundaes. Amazing. My mother knows French. When our parfaits are ready, I curtsy and say merci. That's French for thank you. Looky there. Those are some fancy looking sundaes too. I carry the tray like a fancy waiter. Oops, I trip. I slip. The tray does a double flip. Uh-oh. Oh, poor Fancy Nancy. I don't feel fancy anymore. I want to go home. Aw, poor Fancy Nancy. That would feel terrible, wouldn't it? After I get all cleaned up, I put on my dressing gown. Those are fancy words for bathrobe. I feel much better. I'm ready for a parfait. I tell my parents, thank you for being fancy tonight. Aw, isn't that nice? I love you, my dad says. I love you, my mom says. And all I say back is, I love you, because there isn't a fancy or better way of saying that. Isn't that a wonderfully fun book? If your grown-ups want more information about this book, they can find that in the show notes. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you'll enjoy me. I hope you'll join me again sometime. Goodness, I've gotten all tongue-tied. Bye-bye.